Hey, it's Four with Playboy.
And my Playboys Bunny.
Welcome to our podcast where we discuss pickup, game, relationships, and
Sex.
how to discern a girl's sexual history indirectly.
It's a good question.
Because we are of the mindset it's a bad form, it's a bad idea. You're not going to do anything but force her to lie to you when you say, how many guys have you hooked up with?
Exactly.
So, a player with some, and we're hopefully accelerating your education.
Yeah.
With some education and some experience, you can discern from a girl's general history how prolific she's been.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's put it this way. She lives with her parents. They have one car. They drive her everywhere. She's never had a boyfriend before you. She still lives in the house she grew up in, and she goes to college right next to where she goes, her parents are. And she has one sister who's like homeschooled.
Yeah.
And they go to church 3 times a week.
Yeah.
She's probably a virgin. There's a very high, if they literally never let her out of their sight.
Yeah. And even your dates are pretty monitored.
Not very far.
Yeah.
And she's always home by 7. You know, these are things that you go, oh, you can be pretty sure she's never been to Miami. You know? So you have to, like, people go, well, you can't ever tell. I just told you. I showed you.
Yeah.
You know, you can use history or what would you say? You can look at the picture and take in information.
Yeah.
And gather information, kind of get a discernment. So, sexual history indirectly. You cannot do this on a first date, but as you get to know a girl, first number one question is, are her girlfriends hoes?
Yeah. You can tell a lot by the people she runs with.
Very straight, non-sexual or low sexual girls are not going to hang out with a bunch of sluts.
No.
They don't get it. The sluts don't like her.
No.
They don't get her. Birds of a feather flock together.
Exactly.
You know? She may be going through I've got to put the dick down phase.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what she's saying, that I'm looking for a boyfriend immediately, but all of her friends are whores, or born again virgins sometimes, they do. But who does she hang out with?
Yeah.
That will tell you 99% of what you need to know right there.
Exactly. And you don't have to meet the other girls because she'll show you pictures. You'll see them on social media, whatever it is.
If they all have a drink in their hand or a blunt, each time.
Oh, geez. Yeah, it's true. If they've all got their tongues out and their arms up in the air.
Yeah. And there won't be any guys in the pictures either.
No.
So you think that there's no guys, but all the guys are behind the lens.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So are their friends hoes? Number 2, lots of travel is a negative.
It sure is.
Either a job that they travel, like they're a flight attendant or pharmaceutical rep, anything. Well, let's talk about travel and then we'll talk about jobs.
Yeah.
Travel, because girls love to travel and fuck because they can remain anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. I mean, girls, number one thing that keeps girls from getting prolific numbers of men is their reputation. And if they're somewhere where no one knows them, and no one will ever know them, and no one can ever tell her girlfriends or her parents or her boyfriend what she's doing, she's going to do it. She's going to hook up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what a lot of like backpacking through Europe is. That's what hostels are.
Yeah.
All of this is just a hookup thing. Randos and other travelers.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. So you can know. And then once they get into the jobs, but the anonymity is what allows travel to be such a big thing.
Oh, it's huge. What is it? What's that phrase about outside of your zip code?
Yeah, exactly. For guys, in the military, as soon as you get on a plane, you get an erection. So that's the fact. And also, and I will put this out there, it's crazy, but even the Christian missions, the locals know the girls are hooking up. When you have Christian missionaries in the area doing what do you call it, orphanages and medical, they hook up with the locals.
Fascinating.
I know. Has she dated known players before? Like, if there's a couple guys in the neighborhood that are known for sleeping around, and she's been in their rotation.
Yeah.
She's been in a couple rotations.
That's fair.
You know, it's like, what would you say, a type?
Yeah.
She likes a certain type. It may not be the best type for her, but it's a type that she is open to dating or,
drawn to.
Yeah. For long gaps where she's single, remember, girls are never single. And they'll usually out themselves after you've been around them for a while.
Yeah.
And they'll say, and then I had this one night stand. And then I had this one night stand. And you never say anything. You just like let them ramble. And then you'll realize they never were single. They always kind of like here and there.
Well, they'll say, even if they're saying that they weren't dating anyone, I went out with this guy.
Oh, yeah.
I went out with this guy.
Yeah.
They won't say I had a one night stand. They'll say,
Right.
I went out with
this
him.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I went
For a
out with
while.
him once.
Once or for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's any relatively not hideous woman is never single. She's always having sex with someone.
Yeah.
This one was keyed into me by other guys. Lives alone. Most girls,
No one's checking on her.
no one's checking on her. Complete anonymity, ability to come and go as you want. Here's the deal with the phone. If you do get into your girl's phone, all girls have orbiters, so don't freak out if she's talking to a lot of guys, unless you need to. But that's normal.
Yeah.
That's normal. But lots of nudes that you haven't seen before.
Oh, huge tell.
Yeah, that's
That weren't
a red
made for
flag.
you, or at least weren't sent to you.
Yeah, even if they're in her nudes folder.
Yeah.
Because girls will take they'll take 5 good pictures, and that's what they send out.
Yeah.
But if you're starting to see pictures that are kind of sexy, but you're not seeing them come across your feed, or
It's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and it's usually one of those tells that for a girl that most girls are sloppy, but it means she kind of fucked up in her hiding.
Yeah.
Again, random hookup stories that keep adding up, especially the longer you get to know her.
Yeah.
Or they say, yeah, and then I spent 6 months in Vegas. What'd you do? Oh, I was a waitress. And they're driving a Corvette, and there's always more to the story.
No, but haven't you said like these long gaps where she's quote unquote single, but then it's like, well, I went out with that guy, and I went out with that guy a few dates, and there's a certain point where you kind of go, well, how many guys was that?
Yeah.
And it goes along with this random hookup stories, because it just keeps adding up,
It
and
does
you're
add
going, oh yeah, that was about 10 guys that you've randomly slipped in there in this 2-year period where you were quote unquote single.
Which is her just doing girl things.
Yeah.
Slutted up jobs. There's certain jobs that just lend itself to promiscuity.
Yeah.
The girl can start off with good intentions, but peer pressure and who they're around and environment, bartenders, it's just a late night, everybody hooks up.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily hook up with customers, they hook up with each other.
Yeah.
If they go, I never hooked up with a customer, they mean that. But they also slept with every bartender in the place.
Ever worked with.
And the owner, for sure. Strippers, that's a given. Attorneys, real estate. Real estate's the one that really came on lately where people were like, because real estate is such, well, one, women can't run businesses at all, but two, they self-medicate with alcoholism and sex. And they have a lot of free time during the day.
Yeah.
And no one knows where they're at.
Yeah.
And they can be anywhere. So that's what you're looking at. Any type of consultant that travels, which means they have billable hours, very little accountability, flight attendants in and out, and then Rivellino's, of course, his reverse cowgirl test, which is if a girl on the very first time you have sex with her, she goes into the reverse cowgirl, you can be sure she was a slut. So
Or that her long-term ex-boyfriend
really like that.
really liked the reverse cowgirl.
Yeah.
Because she has a great ass.
Don't say anything to her about it. Just mark that on her little sheet when you're giving her a review at the end of the night. So that
I say that is not a position that I've ever much cared for.
discernment.
So I'm
How do you even know that position?
because I wrote the book.
Oh yeah,
on
I
it.
forgot about that. That's the downside of dating a girl that is a sex expert. How do you know that? Oh well, yeah, you wrote a book. That's funny. That is indirectly gathering a girl's sexual history.
It's a good list.
It's so much easier than going direct.
And you won't get a straight answer
It
9
doesn't
times
matter.
out of 10
No.
anyway.
It will give you an idea of the vast valley of disconnect between how a girl sees herself or her sexual history
Yeah.
and what it actually is.
Yeah.
Because girls can't process all that dick. They have to say 3 because they've had a husband and 2 very serious boyfriends.
Right.
So it's 3. The rest never counted.
Well, and that's true whether she's slept with 100 people or she slept with 7. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, it doesn't matter what her number is. This gives you a good indicator of kind of what it really is closer to.
Yes, very much so. And again, the opposite is true. I mean, if she went straight from high school to married for 20 years and she just went through a divorce, it's going to be low. You know,
Yeah.
if she's, you know, and she's juggling kids. I mean, so there's a difference. It doesn't always have to go up.
Right.
There's some girls that are in a unique position. Because somebody was asking me the other day, where do I find a girl that's had like 2 or 3? I said, they're going to be very young. And I don't know how young you are. Or they're going to have to be newly divorced after a long marriage.
Because a lot of women who are, let's say, just now, are just getting newly divorced, they pretty much had their high school boyfriend who might have become their husband, or they had a light kind of relaxed high school boyfriend, like no pressure, and then kind of got serious in college and married him.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, people, I would say, of our generation didn't necessarily fuck around a whole lot.
No.
Girls,
Yeah.
before we got married.
And even guys, and that's something I've learned in this business, is most guys aren't getting laid a lot.
Yeah.
There's a small group of guys, obviously probably listening to this podcast, that it's important, you're drawn to it, you probably have more sexual partners than average.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys, they'll have 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Maybe 5.
Well, isn't the average for men like
7.
5 or 7? Yeah.
And it's hard for you to imagine that because for a lot of guys, that's how many people you had like in the first 6 months that you were sexually active. Because you're a natural, or this was something you were drawn to and enthusiastic about. But most guys aren't.
Yeah.
It's just it's just something that happens, something they kind of do, with a girlfriend or their wife, and to have kids.
It feels good, you enjoy it, but it's not
a
like
priority.
Yeah.
And if I can take it or leave it. That's where you see a lot of guys just stopping, at 40. They're like, I'm done, whatever. And I don't know. I mean, I've had some guys come back and say, is it because it's challenging? I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. I've not gotten that far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just know that for the vast majority of average guys, it's very low. So these girls are not out banging.
Yeah,
constantly.
but I think our point in all of that is, in order to discern her sexual history indirectly, it doesn't necessarily mean that she's a whore.
No.
Or that she's in the triple digits or even in the double digits. It just means this is a good rule of thumb as to how to kind of discern whether her numbers might be higher or you might get lucky.
Yep.
And be lower.
If you guys like this podcast, like it, share it, tell your friends.
We want you to win.